When your time comes and the curtain begins to fall, you won't ask for your bank statement. You won't reach for your awards. You won't wonder why you didn't work one more weekend. You'll ask yourself one question, and only one: did I truly live? Good evening. I want to talk with you tonight about something we don't discuss nearly enough. Not because it's morbid, but because it's clarifying. I want to talk about your deathbed, not to depress you, but to awaken you. Because here's the truth. Most people spend their entire lives chasing things that won't matter when it counts. And then at the end they realize it. But by then the game is over. So tonight, let's get clear. Let's talk about the 6 things you should stop chasing and the 1 thing you should give everything to instead. First, stop chasing endless wealth. Now, don't misunderstand me. Money is a tool. It's important. It provides security, comfort, and options. But when the accumulation of money becomes your purpose, when you sacrifice your health, your relationships, your integrity for just a little bit more, you've made a tragic error. I've never heard of a man on his deathbed who said, "I wish I'd made $1 more." Not once. But I've heard of countless men who said, "I wish I'd spent more time with the people I love." Money is a servant, a good one. But when you make it your master, it will work you to death and leave you empty. Second, stop chasing status and titles. Vice president, senior executive, doctor, director. These are fine accomplishments, but they are not you. They are roles you play, hats you wear. And when the show is over, the hat comes off. Your title will not comfort you in your final hours. It will not hold your hand. It will not whisper that your life had meaning. Titles are given by others and taken by time. But your character, that is yours forever. Ask yourself, am I building a resume or am I building a life? Third, stop chasing fame and recognition. We live in an age obsessed with being seen, being known, being followed, but fame is fool's gold. It glitters, but it has no lasting value. The applause fades. The spotlight moves on. And what you're left with is the person you became while chasing it, and too often, that person is hollow. Real significance isn't found in how many people know your name. It's found in how deeply you've touched the lives of the people who do. One life changed is worth more than 1,000,000 impressed. Fourth, stop chasing possessions. The bigger house, the newer car, the latest gadget. We collect things as if we're building a fortress against mortality. But we're not. You can't take it with you. Not one item, not one trophy, not 1 square foot of real estate. I'm reminded of an old proverb: shrouds have no pockets. The things you own end up owning you. They demand your time, your attention, your worry. And in the end, they become someone else's garage sale. Own what you need, enjoy what you have, but never confuse possessions with purpose. Fifth, stop chasing perfection. Perfection is a mirage. The closer you get, the farther it moves. And in chasing it, you rob yourself of the joy of living. You'll never be perfect. Your work will never be perfect. Your body, your relationships, your life, none of it will be perfect. And that's okay. That's human. What matters is growth, progress, becoming a little better, a little wiser, a little kinder than you were yesterday. Perfection is for statues. Life is for the living. Sixth, stop chasing other people's approval. This might be the most insidious trap of all, because it's subtle. It whispers. It makes you believe that if you just please enough people, perform well enough, fit in well enough, then you'll finally feel worthy. But you won't, because approval from others is a moving target. And even if you hit it, it doesn't fill the void. You were not born to live someone else's life. You were not born to meet someone else's expectations. You were born to become yourself fully, unapologetically, courageously. And that requires something most people never give themselves: permission. So if those 6 things don't matter at the end, what does? Here it is. And listen closely, because this is the only thing that will matter when your time comes. Did you love well? Did you grow? And did you live with meaning? Let me say that again, because it's worth repeating. The measure of a life is not in what you gained, but in what you gave. Not in what you avoided, but in what you became. Not in how much you were admired, but in how deeply you loved. That's it. That's the whole game. At your deathbed, you won't care about your stock portfolio. You'll care about the moments you shared with your children. The laughter around the dinner table. The hands you held. The people you helped. The courage you showed when it mattered. You'll care about whether you became the person you were capable of becoming, or whether you settled, played small, and let fear run your life. You'll care about whether you loved freely, forgave quickly, and gave generously. You'll care about meaning. And meaning, my friend, is not found in the external. It's found in the internal. It's found in the quiet moments when you choose kindness over cruelty, honesty over convenience, growth over comfort. It's found in the decision to live deliberately, to wake up each day and ask, how can I be better today? How can I serve? How can I love? Let me tell you about a man I once knew. He was what most people would call successful, very successful. He'd built a fortune in real estate properties stretching across 3 states, investments that multiplied year after year. His bank accounts grew so large he stopped checking them. The numbers became meaningless. Every morning he'd wake up at 5, work until midnight. Saturdays, Sundays, there was no difference. Just deals to close properties to acquire, wealth to accumulate. He told himself he was building security, building a legacy, building something. His children grew up with nannies. His wife became a stranger who happened to live in the same house. His body began to break down from stress and neglect, but he kept going. Because that next deal, that next million, surely that would be enough. Now, you might be wondering where this is going. Here's what happened at 62. He had a massive heart attack, survived it barely, and for the first time in decades he was forced to stop, to sit still, to think. And you know what he told me, lying in that hospital bed with all his money, all his properties, all his success? He said, Earl, I've been climbing a ladder my whole life, and I just realized it's been leaning against the wrong wall. See, here's what most people don't understand about money. It's not that money itself is the problem. Money is neutral. It's a tool like a hammer or a pen. The problem is when we make it our reason, when we chase it without asking why. Because money, pure accumulation for its own sake, is like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. There's never enough because you haven't defined what enough means. Think about it this way, a man can have $10 million and feel poor. Another can have 10,000 and feel rich. The difference isn't in the bank account. It's in the purpose behind it. Money with purpose is powerful. It educates your children. It gives you freedom to pursue meaningful work. It allows you to help others, to create, to contribute. Money with purpose serves your life, but money without purpose, it serves nothing. It just sits there growing, demanding more attention, creating more anxiety. It becomes a prison with very expensive bars. My friend in that hospital bed learned something in one moment that most people never learn in a lifetime. You cannot buy back time. You cannot buy back presence. You cannot buy back the relationships you neglected while you were busy making money. And here's the truth that no one wants to face, but everyone must. When you're lying in that final bed, and we all will be someday, your accountant won't be there reading your portfolio balance. Your stock certificates won't comfort you. Your real estate holdings won't hold your hand. What will matter is whether you used your resources, including your money, to build something that transcends the material. Did you use your wealth to free yourself from meaningful work, or did you become enslaved by it? Did you invest in people, in relationships, in experiences that expanded your soul? Or did you just count, accumulate, and worry? The wealthiest person isn't the one who dies with the most. It's the one who lived with purpose, gave with generosity, and truly knew what their money was for. So ask yourself tonight, am I earning to live or living to earn? Because one path leads to wealth, the other leads to riches, and they are not the same thing. I remember the day I met him at the conference. He handed me his business card, thick, embossed, expensive. Senior Vice President, corner office on the 42nd floor. His entire identity was printed in raised lettering beneath his name. When he introduced himself to others, he didn't say, "I'm Robert." He said, "I'm Senior Vice President Robert Harrison," as if the title was his first name, as if without it he wasn't sure who he was. 6 months later, the company restructured. His division was eliminated. And that title, the one he'd spent 15 years climbing toward, the one he'd sacrificed weekends and missed recitals for, disappeared with a single memo. I saw him a year after that. He looked lost. Not because he couldn't find work he could, but because he'd built his entire sense of self on a foundation of words that someone else could take away. Now, before you think I'm suggesting titles don't matter, let me be clear. They do matter. Titles represent achievement. They reflect responsibility. They open doors. If you've earned a position through hard work and dedication, you should be proud of it. But, and this is crucial, a title is something you have. It is not something you are. Here's what happens. We live in a world that loves labels. We love to categorize, to rank, to organize people into neat little boxes. Doctor, director, manager, associate. It gives us a sense of order, a sense of hierarchy. And somewhere along the way, we start believing that climbing that hierarchy is the same as growing as a human being. We start thinking that moving from associate to manager to director is the same as becoming wiser, kinder, more complete. But it's not. You see, your title tells people what you do in a particular organization at a particular time. That's all. It doesn't tell them who you are when no one's watching. It doesn't reveal your character when you're tested. It doesn't show whether you're a good parent, a loyal friend, a person of integrity. Think of it like this. A title is like a uniform. When you're a soldier, you wear the uniform with pride. It represents your service. But when you take off that uniform, you're still you. The uniform doesn't follow you into the bedroom, the dinner table, the quiet moments with your family. The uniform is what you wear. You are what remains when it comes off. I've known men who were called doctor, who had no compassion. I've known women with CEO on their door who couldn't maintain a single genuine friendship. I've known professors who'd stopped learning and managers who couldn't manage their own marriages. The title didn't make them wise. It didn't make them whole. It just made them titled. And here's what eventually happens to all titles. They end, you retire, you get downsized, you move on. The company closes, the position is eliminated. Or, and this is the one we forget, you die. And when you do, your tombstone won't read, "Here lies the vice president." It'll read your name, just your name. And the only thing that will matter is what that name meant to the people who knew the person behind it. Did that person love well? Did they grow? Did they contribute something beyond their job description? Because titles are temporary appointments. But character is a permanent achievement. So wear your title with pride if you've earned it. Let it represent your work, your dedication, your contribution. But never, never let it define your worth. You are not your business card. You are the person you're becoming every single day. And that person exists with or without the title on the door. There's a storage facility near my home, 3 stories tall. Rows and rows of locked units, filled with things people own but don't use. I watched a man there last week, struggling to fit one more box into his already packed unit. Furniture from his old house, clothes his children had outgrown, gadgets that stopped working years ago, things he couldn't bear to part with but didn't need enough to keep in his home. He was paying $200 a month to store things he hadn't looked at in 3 years. I wanted to ask him, what exactly are you keeping? And more importantly, what is it keeping from you? But I didn't, because I knew the answer would hurt. Here's something we rarely stop to consider. Every possession you own owns a piece of you in return. It demands space. It requires maintenance. It occupies mental real estate. That car needs insurance and repairs. That house needs cleaning and upkeep. That collection needs organizing and protecting. We think we're building security when we accumulate, but often we're just building a very comfortable prison. Now, I'm not suggesting you sell everything and live like a monk. That's not what I'm saying at all. I like nice things. I appreciate quality. A comfortable home, reliable transportation, tools that work well. These things enhance life. They serve a purpose. But somewhere along the way, many of us crossed a line. We stopped owning things and started being owned by them. You see it everywhere. The couple who bought a house so big they spend their entire weekend cleaning it instead of living in it. The man with a garage full of tools he'll never use but can't throw away. The woman with a closet full of clothes, most with tags still attached, yet nothing to wear. We've confused abundance with excess. We've mistaken accumulation for achievement. Here's a simple test. Walk through your home tonight. Really look at what you own. Now ask yourself, how many of these things do I use? How many bring me genuine joy? And how many am I just storing? The ancient Egyptians believed you could take it with you. They buried pharaohs with gold, furniture, chariots, servants, everything they'd need in the afterlife. Entire treasuries locked in tombs. But here's what's fascinating. We look at those tombs now and think, how foolish. You can't take it with you. And yet, we do the same thing. We just use different tombs. We call them houses, storage units, bank vaults. We spend our lives filling them up, as if somehow the one with the most things wins. But wins what exactly? What's the prize? I'll tell you what happens at the end. Your children will go through your belongings. They'll keep a few things that have sentimental value: photographs, maybe a watch, a piece of jewelry. The rest, estate sale, donation center, landfill. All those things you worked so hard to acquire, protect, and maintain will be dispersed in a weekend. And the question that will linger is this: what did you miss while you were busy collecting? What experiences did you skip because you were working to afford things you didn't need? What relationships did you neglect because you were too busy maintaining your possessions? Here's the truth that sets you free. You don't need most of what you own. You really don't. What you need is purpose, connection, growth, experiences that expand you, relationships that fulfill you, work that matters to you. These things don't take up space in your closet. They take up space in your soul. And unlike possessions, they actually go with you. They become part of who you are. So own what serves your life. Enjoy what brings genuine value, but stop collecting for collection's sake. Because at the end, the lightest load is often the richest life. I watched it happen at my 20th high school reunion. A man I'd known, we'll call him Tom, spent the entire evening moving from group to group, dropping carefully crafted updates about his life, his salary, his vacation home, his son at Princeton. Each story precisely calibrated to land just above whatever the other person had shared. When someone mentioned buying a Honda, Tom talked about his Lexus. When someone mentioned visiting Florida, Tom talked about his villa in Tuscany. Every conversation became a subtle competition he needed to win. By the end of the night, he'd won every exchange. He'd proven himself more successful than everyone there. And yet, when I looked at his face, I saw something else entirely. Exhaustion. A deep, bone-tired exhaustion that no amount of success could cure. I ran into Tom's younger brother a few months later. He told me something that explained everything. Tom's entire life had been shaped by comparison. In school, he'd compared grades. In college, starting salaries. Then houses, cars, titles, children's achievements. Every day was a scoreboard, and every person was either ahead of him or behind him. The brother said something I'll never forget. Tom has everything he thought he wanted. But he's still looking over his shoulder to see who's gaining on him. Here's what happens when you build your life on comparison. You hand control of your happiness to everyone around you. Because now your worth isn't determined by your own values, your own growth, your own satisfaction. It's determined by whether you're ahead or behind in a race that has no finish line. Someone will always have more money. Someone will always have a bigger house. Someone will always have more impressive children, more exotic vacations, more recognitions, more followers, more. And if your peace depends on being ahead of them, you'll never have peace. Ever? Because comparison is a game designed to make you lose, even when you win. Now here's what we don't talk about enough. Most of the people you're comparing yourself to are also miserable. They're also running the same exhausting race, looking over their shoulders, measuring themselves against others. You're competing with people who are competing with people who are competing with people, and nobody's actually living. Everyone's just racing. And toward what? What's the prize at the end of all this comparison? There isn't one. Because the race never ends. There's always another person to measure yourself against, another milestone that would finally make you feel enough. But enough never arrives through comparison. It can't, because comparison is external and enough is internal. Think about a tree in the forest. Does the oak compare itself to the pine? Does it worry that the willow has more graceful branches? Does it measure its worth by how it stacks up against the maple? No, it just grows. It becomes the fullest expression of what an oak can be. That's its entire job. And that's enough. You were given one life. Your life. With your circumstances, your gifts, your challenges, your unique path. And your only job is to see how far you can take it. How much you can grow. How deeply you can love. How much meaning you can create with the hand you were dealt. That's your race. And you're running it alone. Not because you're isolated, but because no one else is qualified to run it. Your path is yours. When you stop comparing your chapter 7 to someone else's chapter 20, something remarkable happens. You finally start living your own story instead of keeping score in everyone else's. So tonight I want you to try something. For 1 week, just 7 days, stop comparing yourself to anyone. Not at work, not on social media, not at family gatherings. When that impulse rises, just notice it and let it pass. Instead, ask yourself, am I better than I was last month? Am I growing? Am I becoming more of who I'm meant to be? Compare yourself only to who you were yesterday. That's the only comparison that matters. That's the only race worth running. And in that race, you can actually win. I met her in the hospice wing of the hospital where I was visiting a friend. She was 93 years old, propped up on pillows, her weathered hands resting on the blanket. Her room wasn't filled with flowers or cards. There were no visitors waiting in the hallway. Just her and the nurse who checked in every few hours. I watched through the open door as the nurse adjusted her pillows. And when that nurse leaned down to make sure she was comfortable, the old woman reached up with great effort and touched the nurse's cheek. Just a gentle touch. And she whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." The nurse's eyes filled with tears. That moment, that simple gesture of human connection held more wealth than anything I'd seen in the executive suites and boardrooms I'd visited that same week. 3 floors down in the cardiac unit, I saw something else. A man recovering from surgery, successful by every conventional measure you could tell from the expensive watch on the nightstand, the designer luggage in the corner. His phone kept buzzing with messages he couldn't answer because he was too weak. But his room was empty. No family, no friends stopping by. Just business associates sending texts about deals that suddenly seemed very far away. I wondered which room I'd rather be in, which life I'd rather have lived, and the answer came immediately. Here's something we get backwards in our culture. We treat love like it's soft, like it's the dessert you get after eating your vegetables of work and achievement, like it's something you do with your leftover time, your extra energy, your spare attention. We've got it exactly reversed. Love, real love, given freely and lived fully, isn't the dessert. It's the whole meal. It's the vegetables, the protein, the sustenance that actually keeps you alive in the ways that matter. But not the greeting card version of love. I'm talking about something deeper. I'm talking about the capacity to truly see another person, to be present with them, to contribute to their life in ways that have nothing to do with what you get back. I'm talking about love as a verb, not just a feeling. Love as a practice. Love is the daily decision to show up for the people and purposes that matter to you. What does that look like in real life? It looks like putting down your phone when your child wants to show you something. Not half listening while you scroll, actually putting it down. It looks like calling your elderly parent not because you're supposed to, but because you genuinely want to hear their voice. It looks like doing work you believe in, work that serves something beyond your bank account, work that would matter even if no one applauded. It looks like choosing presence over productivity, connection over convenience, depth over breadth. And here's what's remarkable: the more you give this kind of attention, this kind of love, the more you have. It's the only resource that multiplies through use. Money divides. When you give it away, you have less. Someone else has more. But love compounds. When you love generously, you don't become depleted. You become more capable of love. I think about those 2 rooms in that hospital. Same building, same circumstances at the end, but completely different lives. One person had spent her life giving not money, not things, but attention, kindness, presence. And even in her final days, that's what she was still doing. Touching the nurse's cheek, seeing her, thanking her. The other had spent his life accumulating, building, achieving. And now, when what he needed most was human connection, his phone was full of contacts, but his room was empty. Here's what nobody tells you: real growth isn't about becoming more successful. It's about becoming more human, more present, more capable of love and meaning. Meaning is what happens when your love takes action in the world. When you stop hoarding your attention and start investing it in people and purposes that matter. At your deathbed, only one question will matter: did you love well? Not perfectly, not without mistakes, but well, generously, bravely. Did you let people in? Did you show up? Did you give yourself to something beyond yourself? Because that's the currency that crosses every border, including the final one. Everything else you leave behind. But the love you gave, that goes with you. It becomes who you are. And it's the only thing you take with you when you go. Now, here's the beautiful part. You don't have to wait until the end to realize this. You can realize it right now, today, this moment. You can stop chasing the wrong things. You can reorient your life around what truly matters. It's not too late. It's never too late. As long as you're breathing, you have time. But you must decide. You must choose. Because this life, your life, is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. So here's what I want you to do. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to sit quietly for 5 minutes. No phone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. And I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Am I living a life I'll be proud of when it ends? What do I need to stop chasing? What do I need to start giving my life to instead? Write down your answers. Don't think too hard. Just write what comes. And then this is the most important part, take one action tomorrow. Just one. Something small but significant. Something that moves you toward meaning and away from distraction. Call someone you love and tell them. Forgive someone you've been holding a grudge against. Start that project you've been putting off. Give to someone who needs it. One action. Tomorrow. Because the only way to live a life that matters is to start living it. Not someday. Not when things are perfect. Not when you have more time or more money or more confidence. Today, right now, this is your life. Don't waste it chasing shadows. Chase meaning. Chase growth. Chase love. And when your time comes, and it will come for all of us, you'll be able to close your eyes in peace, knowing you lived well. I'm Earl Nightingale. Thank you for listening. And remember, you become what you think about. So think about what truly matters. Good night.